Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our Sunday Taleem address. Today we have a special presenter for our Pioneer Sunday, Imam Talib Salahuddin. He's a resident Imam, Masjid Hassan in Fort Worth, Texas. Inshallah, we want to thank him for joining us, and we'll go ahead and proceed with the program.
Assalamu alaikum. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله. I witness that there is no God, there is nothing worthy of worship or our devotional obedience except Allah, the God. He is al kulli shayin. He is the al khalaqa kulli shayin. He is the creator and the creator of every single thing. Lahul ham wa lahul mulk. To him is the praise and the sovereignty. Wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. And he has power over all things. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wa baraka ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fil alamin. Innaka Hamidun Majid. We ask Allah's exaltations and the result of our prayers upon our leader, our Prophet Muhammad, upon Allah's messenger, the universal messenger. We ask his blessings upon him, upon his family, the companions, the righteous servants, all of them. As you did exalt, O Allah, Abraham and the following of Abraham. For surely you are praised, magnified, and glorified in our midst. Again, I greet you, Assalamu alaikum, and I'm grateful again for this opportunity to contribute to the conversation and share our experiences, our concerns, and our hopes. Initially, I was scheduled to address a group of our high school graduating seniors at Masjid al-Islam in Dallas, a group program for our graduating seniors that was postponed until the latter part of this June. And it was a program that was began by one of our pioneers, Sister Ruby Bismillah Muhammad. She started and supported a group called the Books of Baziga. With her passing, Sister Evelyn Akram has continued her work of giving scholarships and advice to the graduating seniors. Sister Ruby was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Chicago, and when he moved out to Arizona. So my connection with Sister Ruby indirectly goes back to the early 1960s. Her husband came through my hometown of Tyler, Texas, and he was selling the Amsterdam News and the Pittsburgh Courier. They carried the lectures of the speeches of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And subsequently, he began to bring and distribute the Muhammad Speaks through there, along with the message to the black man. And I had an uncle who had a friend named Charles Brooks, and they became interested in this information and the articles of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. And my uncle's friend, he shared it with a classmate of mine. Back then, his name was Maurice. Later, his name changed to Taladdin Nasheed Mahdi, and he subsequently, at one time, became the Imam of Masjid Hassan in Fort Worth for a couple of years. When I got out of the Navy in 1969, he shared his book, Message to the Black Man, with me. And incidentally, I still have that book back then. And he was inviting me to also come to the temple. And so I would visit the temple, and the information interested me. But I had a problem with one section when it said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may Allah forgive him his sins and grant him the paradise, said, if you find any error or anything wrong, I'll give you $10,000 from my brother's vest pocket. So when it was written in there that the devil, we were using that language back then, would not land on our moon. And when the U.S. landed on the moon in 1969, I was kind of questioning that. And that kind of dampened my spirit a little bit to come into the community. Because while I was in the Navy in 1969, 67, 68, 69, and if we were not on the gun line in Vietnam, we would often be picking up the Mercury astronaut capsules that had circled the Earth and landed in the Pacific. And this was a prelude to them attempting to land on the moon. So I continued visiting the temple while in college and involved in the various, quote, Black student movements of that time. So while I was in college, my friend and I, we met a sister there at the school, and we introduced her to the Nation of Islam. She subsequently joined and later married our Imam, that we remember, and we ask Allah's mercy and blessings upon him and enter him into the paradise, Imam Akbar Nuruddin Shabazz. So when I came down for the dedication of Masjid Wahid Muhammad in Houston, I met their two children that they had together at this dedication. So Imam Shabaz's dad, he was the investigator. That is, we call him Sheikh Omar Shabazz, that passed recently, alayhi salam. He was the investigator at Temple number 52 in Dallas. And I was living kind of out from the inner city, kind of one of the, I guess you could call it a suburb then, in Pleasant Grove. And they were a little bit more stable with businesses and jobs in Fort Worth, I thought, than they were in Dallas. So I wanted to go to Fort Worth. But every time that I would, and back then you had to have a traveling letter. And every time that I would attempt and to go to Fort Worth, they would tell me, say, well, brother, you're not up on your Muhammad Speak sales, or you're not up on your FOI dues, or you're not up on your number 2 poor, which was our zakat back then. So this went on for a while. So finally, I got ahead on ordering the Muhammad Speaks, up on the FOI dues, and up on the number 2 poor. And I had an old Electra a deuce and a quarter, Electra 225. And I loaded up my furniture, some of it, in my bedroom set and mattresses and things like that. And I pulled up in front of the temple, and I told them, I talked to the investigator, Brother Shabazz, Sheikh Shabazz, and I said, look, man, I'm on the way to Fort Worth. I'm moving. This is my last load. I need to get my travel letter, because you had to have a travel letter to move back then from one temple or mosque to another in another city. And so he said, well, let me go talk to the minister. This was Minister Isaiah Kareem at that time. So he went and they conferred. And when they came back, begrudgingly, they gave me my letter so that I could go to Fort Worth. This is back probably about 1973, in that area, 72, 73. Before, a couple of years or so before Imam Wahid Muhammad Rahim Allah Alayhi came in. So I went back, I had my stuff loaded up. I went back home and took all of that furniture out of that U-Haul and off of that deuce and a quarter and put back in my house, because I wasn't going to be moving to Fort Worth. But I had to use that little bamboozling trick in order to get there. So my uncle, his friend Charles Brooks, he moved to Dallas, he and his wife. And so when he and his wife moved to Dallas, subsequently my aunt and my uncle, they followed, and they also moved to Dallas. And Charles, I've been told by some that he came into the Nation of Islam. I don't know that for a fact, but he loved to talk about the mothership. This was our language back then, about the mothership. A lot of talking messages to the black man and other things about the mothership. And Charles loved to talk about the mothership. And my uncle would always try to change the conversation. But I was fascinated by that language. And also I had a sister where we were living that had a barber shop in a little strip mall there. She was a Muslim, Sister can't think of her name right now. But she had a barbershop, and there was a couple other Muslim brothers in the nation that were working in the barbershop, and they had the message to the black man and a lot of other paraphernalia up there in the window, and they would be talking about the mothership. So I was fascinated by it, and about its 1,400 planes that were on board the mothership that could stay out of the Earth's atmosphere for 6 months, and that when the judgment came, that they would drop bombs down on the Earth and blow up mountains a mile high. And so, and that it traveled faster than light. It traveled at the speed of thought. And this was some powerful symbolic parlaying that they were doing. So this idea and this symbolism, this came into the language of the broader African American community, and particularly a group talking about this being some powerful parlaying, a group called Parliament Funkadelic, and they came out with a song called Mothership Connection. And so, as I was thinking and preparing for this talk here, I said I remembered that, and I said, well, let me go back and let me Google and pull up Parliament, because I kind of forgot some of the things. And so I pulled up and I listened. It happened to be that this thing that was on YouTube, it was a concert that they did in Houston, Texas, about a Mothership Connection concert in Houston, Texas, with George Clinton, that was the leader of this Parliament Funkadelic. So I was fascinated by that, and I looked at it and I said, it's influencing this Nation of Islam language, is influencing the culture. But as I looked at it, it wasn't, they weren't taking it from how it was designed and what its purpose was, as far as I look at George Clinton and the actors on stage there. But it did have a spiritual context to it, because they associated it also with Ezekiel's wheel of the Bible. And much of what they're doing sounds very much like some Christian spirituals. And you swing down, sweet Lord, and sweet chariot, and let me ride. Stop and let me ride. So this is all in the song. So this is the kind of influence that the Nation of Islam language was having in the subculture of the African American. I was remembering one of the conventions that we had with Imam Muhammad on the land that we had in Chicago. And this was on the land across from where the Mosque's building was located. I don't remember the year, but this was the time that brother Melvin Mustafa, he had the Melvin Mustafa Orchestra that was also performing on that land. But there was a brother there, a pioneer brother. And I wish I could get his lyrics. I thought I'd recorded it. I'm not sure I did. I haven't been able to find it. But he called himself the pioneer rapper. And he was laying down some heavy parlaying as his presentation. And he was saying the thing that I remember most. He said, I'm the pioneer rapper. I'm not just up here flapping my flapper. So he was laying down some heavy lyrics there. So a pioneer is one that opens a new line of thought. Now the mothership traveled at the speed of thought. So a pioneer is one that opens up a new line of thought or activity. It is one of the first to settle in a territory. It opens up or prepares for others to follow. So after the moon landing in 1969, the U.S. space program in the early 1970s launched a number of spacecrafts and probes in what was called the Pioneer series. And there was Pioneer 1, 2, 3, all the way up to Pioneer 11. And these were to prepare the way they landed on the moon, but to prepare the way for the deeper penetration into space. And I'm just going to read something here that pricked my memory about. And this is from Surah Rahman. And that is Surah 55 and Ayat 33. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He says, Ya ma'ashar al-jinni wal-insi استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أفطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بالسلطان. O you assembly of men and jinn, penetrate into the far regions if you can, if you seek to, but you won't be able to do it without power or allowed by my authority. So the pioneer is one that opens up or prepares the way for others to follow into new territory. So following the Pioneer series of spacecraft, the Voyager spacecraft was launched in 1979 and 1977, I'm sorry. And in 1979, a Star Trek movie, the first Star Trek movie, I believe, was released in 1979. And in that movie called Star Trek, the USS Enterprise, it intercepts a probe called Voyager, V''G''Er, Voyager. And Voyager had been sent on a journey to collect information, penetrating into the deep space, going into deep space to collect all the information it could to bring back. And so Voyager, it got caught and passed through a black hole and went into another dimension. And in that another dimension on this other planet, there were artificial intelligences, and the Voyager wasn't functioning as it should function. But they repaired it and they sent it back on its way. And it was really determined later on. So when the Starship Enterprise, USS Starship Enterprise, when it intercepted the Voyager, they soon discovered that it was actually an older NASA probe that had been sent out in the far reaches of space to collect this information. And the recurring theme that was coming in the movie was that Voyager was searching for its creator. Voyager was searching for its creator. Subsequently, when they cleaned all of the refuge and other things that were covering part of the name, they found out that Voyager really was Voyager, Voyager. It was Voyager. And so this Voyager, in other words, really was a Voyager. It was a pilgrim. It was a traveler. We might even say that it was a Haji. And it was trying to get home, trying to find its creator and trying to get back home. So when I was thinking about a Sister Ruby and the program that she started, that Sister Akram is continuing, the one that they had to postpone for a couple of weeks, I was reminded about Abraham and his experience that's recounted by Allah is given in Surah Al-An'am in beginning at ayat 75. فَتَلِكَ نُورِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلِكُوتِ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ. So we did show Abraham the powers and the laws of heaven. We did show him the kingdom, some translators give, that he might have certainty or have certitude. And then when the فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ لَيْلُ, so when the night covered him, he saw a star. And he thought, Abraham, that he should worship this star. But then when this star set, he says, my Lord is not those that set. So Abraham was searching for his creator, just like Vijay was searching for his creator. So then he goes on to see the moon, and he saw the moon, and he said he saw the moon, and the word that he used, rising in splendor, is Bazigan, the group that Sister Ruby has named her group that she started after, Brooks of Bazigan. So now, these are all these probes. They're searching space, and they are looking, and they're probing. And so in 1996, there was a young African-American girl who won an essay contest to submit a name for the next generation of probes. And this probe that they were going to send out there was going to land on Mars. And the name that she submitted was Sojourner Truth, named after a prominent African-American freedom fighter. Sojourner Truth. What is Sojourner Truth? Sojourner Truth is a traveler in search of truth. So I see a lot of this in this theme with trying to get home, trying to get truth, trying to find what it is that we should worship, searching for his creator. Now, Sojourner Truth was born into slavery in New York, and she escaped to freedom in 1826. Her name that she was born to, given in slavery, was Isabella Bumfree. Isabella Bumfree. And I'm emphasizing the free at the end of her name. Imam has pointed out this a lot of times, names suggest a lot. Allah is always in control. But Isabella Bumfree became a freedom fighter and a fighter for freedom and justice. So the effort or the desire to get home is a universal theme of achievement in the life of man, in the life of human beings, following a catastrophic event. Stephanie Mills, the songstress, in her signature song in the movie The Wiz, the remake of The Wizard of Oz, she said, "When I think of home, I think of a resting place, a place of peace, quiet, and serenity, etc." And she said, a journey I'll never forget. So home for many of us in the Nation of Islam was freedom, justice, and equality in Islam. That's what's on the Nation of Islam flag back then. Freedom, justice, equality, Islam. And so we felt when we got there and got those things, we would be home. So now we are in this month of Juneteenth. Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is a month that when the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1963, I believe. When it was issued in, I believe, January 1963, the effect of that Emancipation Proclamation was not realized in Texas until June 1863 to June of 1865, when the General Gordon Granger came into Galveston, Texas, and the news was brought that the slaves had been freed in June of 18. And I graduated 100 years, June of 1965, 100 years from Juneteenth. And it was a lot of big celebrations, particularly that focused out of Houston. And I think it was Reverend Jack Yates and others who did a lot of work down there promoting this idea of Juneteenth. And this became, Imam Wartadi Muhammad Rahimahullah Alayhi asked us to keep this in our spirit and acknowledge it as one of his initiatives. So it's been very difficult for me trying to get people, I've done it over the course of the years, trying to get people to support and participate in that from our association. Juneteenth, the people of African descent on the mother continent and in their diaspora have been away from home for over 500 years. Before, not just Jamestown in 1607, but on in the late 1400s, 1500s, when the Portuguese first began to go in there and take slaves off of the continent. And I know in the Nation of Islam book of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to talk about the John Hawkins. I think maybe 1555, that was the time period that he used. So for 400 or 500 years, with this transatlantic slave trade starting, we have been away from home. In Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, he says, in Islamic knowledge, the urge is in human nature to educate, develop, and establish culture is often given in the picture of 4 rivers. 2 of these rivers are common or seen as on the terrestrial level, or we might just say down to earth. 2 rivers that are in the earth, that flow in the earth. They are the flows in the soul for a nobility of respect and the demands that the soul makes when it accepts that it has nobility as every other person, every other soul. It makes demand for justice. So these 2 rivers of nobility and justice, they are flowing in the soul of every human being. So they continue to flow in the soul of the African American and the African, despite the catastrophic events that took us out of the good situation that we were in many instances. I'm going to make a reference here to Patrice Lumumba. There's a lot of currently in the Congo. There's the resurgence of this Ebola, this very disease. And so they're working now to tamp that down, to control that. Much of the aid that came to those so-called developing countries that came from the West was cut off with this current administration, USAID aid, current administration that we have in there. So you haven't had that kind of sympathy or that kind of charity to aid those things, not realizing that what happens across the water will eventually reach us and affect us over here in the West. But so I mentioned here Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. And in 1959, Belgium, 1959, Belgium that was ruling the Congo and dominating the Congo at that time. And King Leopold II, I think it was, they did some terrible things, cutting off the limbs of the people if they didn't produce enough in the mines that affected our family. They were doing some terrible things to our people there in the Congo. But in 1959, Belgium, because of the protests and other activities from the native people there, they decided that they were going to give a 5-year path to freedom. And Patrice Lumumba, in 1969, he headed a political movement that formed this first independent group in pursuit of independence for the Congo. And so it was in June of 1960, coming earlier, that Belgium granted independence to the Congo. And so this is an address that Patrice Lumumba gave. I'm going to read a part of it at the proclamation of the Congo's independence. And this is in June the 30th, 1960. He says, men and women of the Congo, victorious independent fighters, I salute you in the name of the Congolese government. I ask all of you, my friends who tirelessly fought in our ranks, to mark this June the 30th, 1960, as an illustrious date that will be ever engraved in our hearts, a date whose meaning will proudly explain to your children so that they in their turn might relate to their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren the glorious history of our struggle for freedom. Although this independence of the Congo is being proclaimed today by agreement with Belgium, and he says amicable country, with which we are on equal terms, no Congolese will ever forget that independence was won in struggle, a persevering and inspired struggle carried on from day to day, a struggle in which we were undaunted by privation or suffering, and stinted neither strength nor blood. It was filled with tears, fire, and blood. We are deeply proud of our struggle because it was just and noble. These two rivers we talked about. We're talking about the river for perceiving our nobility and for justice. So we are deeply proud of our struggle because it was just and noble and indispensable in an end to humiliating, as an end to ending the humiliating bondage forced upon us. Now, the people at the bell at that time, they wanted Patrice Lumumba buck dancing for independence, but he wasn't doing that. So they didn't like that. And the Belgian government, in consort with the United States government, and I believe Britain, along with some other actors, adversaries of Patrice Lumumba, they arrested him, subsequently killed him, dismembered him, and put him in an acid vat. I recently got a book called The Lumumba Plot, The Secret History of the CIA and a Cold War Assassination of what happened to Patrice Lumumba. So we shouldn't forget these things. We can't forget these things. The transatlantic slave trade, it was the great catastrophe of our people. It disestablished us, and we have not been able to reestablish ourselves, as the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable and Noble, this nobility, Noble Marcus Garvey said, that hopefully that one day we will take our place among the constellations of the stars before we were set. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wants good establishment, excellent establishment for us in this world and in the life to come. When Allah said, kun fayakun, be, and it is. So be means, as Imam Muhammad explained, it means to come into existence. It's a command form of the verb kana, as we know. Be, kun, come into existence. But now the journey and the progression begins. B is not the eschatological end of things. It's the beginning. It's the commencement. It's the beginning of a journey, of a progression. And now we have to take that B, that beginning, and we have to carry it and go to the destiny. And what is the destiny? The promised land. Home. Trying to get back home again. It is the abode of peace. It is, as it said in Surah 23, ayat 13. Let's see if I can read that quickly. How am I doing on time? Not too bad. That is Surah 23, ayat 13. The believers. ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين, and we placed it, talking about this sperm that man was created from, in a place قرار مكين, of peace and security, a place of rest. So we reflecting back to what Stephanie Mills said, a place of security, a place of peace. Yes. So Imam Muhammad Rahimahullah, he says, so we begin, our beginning is kun, but that's not our end. Our destination is makan, related to makin. Our destination is makan, What is Makan? Makan is establishment. So when we get to that place of circumstance, that is that place of establishment, we will be, as the Quran says in Surah 89, I believe it is, ayat 27. Ya ayyuhal nafsul mutma'inna urji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiyan fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. O you soul at rest and satisfaction, mutma'inna, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing, pleased with yourself, pleased with your performance, pleased with your struggle, pleased with your sa'i, to actualize the innate potential that God has placed in us. Pleased with that. And in that struggle, in that sa'i, to please Allah, then we'll become pleasing to Him in our perseverance. Man's destiny is the grasp of their life and their environment, his environment. To have your life and your environment in your control under Allah's guidance. So we have to struggle to gain mastery over the purveyors of negative and dominating influences. We must, as it says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 260, when Abraham says to his Lord, "Oh my Lord, show me, how do you give life to the dead?" And Allah asked him, "Is it that you don't believe?" He said, "No, my Lord, but yet my inner qalb, but so that my, again, mutma'inna, yet my inner qalb, so that my heart can be at peace, can be at rest, can be at satisfaction, so that I can get home." So Allah tells him to take take 4 birds. Take 4 from the birds, some like to say, but take 4 birds and train them, cause them to incline to you, condition them, and then place a portion of them on every hill. Place them on the 4 hills so you can blow up mountains a mile high. You can establish yourself. So place them on the 4 hills. So when you need them, when you need that in your life to establish yourself, call on that. And they will come flying to you, making sa'i. They'll come flying to you in haste. So I'm winding down here, not too long. We said in the Nation of Islam, we said that we are beginning in our creation. We were traveling in three rooms, spinning in 3 rooms of darkness, total trip of darkness. We were spinning in space before we came into the light, and gave and that mystical language gave birth to ourselves. We know that that's mystical language, and that's mystical parlay. But we were traveling through these, spinning in space in total trip of darkness. But now the light is on, as it said in the 1996 Islamic Convention in White Plains, New York. The light is on. We have climbed, as we do, we've climbed the mountain. We've come up from the ganglia in the back. We've come up to the top of the mountain there. And now we have to go back down the mountain. We have to gather what we've come up to in the light that we have gotten as a result of this education and development. We're in the duha now. But now we've got to go back down the mountain, and we've got to share the meat. We've got to share the high knowledge. And the wild ace has uncovered the treasure that's under the wall that has been left for the orphan children. He's uncovered it. So now we've got to take that treasure that has been uncovered. Just as Jacob, what Jacob did when he peeled back the tree as he was doing his grafting, that Professor Farad based his methodological language out of. He peeled back, he's showing these cows they're at the water and they're drinking. And he's peeling back the bark, the superficial knowledge from the tree. And he's showing them the white and green and the internal workings. He's showing them the spiritual sciences. So now Imam Muhammad Rahimahullah alayhi, he has unearthed the treasure that's on the wall for the orphan children with the Quran and what Allah has left us and given us and bringing us into the spiritual sciences. Yusuf, you know, Imam Muhammad, he came out of number 12. You know, Yusuf, that was Yusuf is associated with the 12. So he came out of Philadelphia, number 12. But he's shown us and brought us the spiritual sciences. But now we need Benjamin. We need Benjamin to aid his brother, his younger brother, Benjamin, to aid Yusuf, to aid these spiritual sciences so that we can establish the social sciences and we can get back home. Reading again from Imam Muhammad. He says, Al-Islam wants communities established on earth that are in accord with the will and guidance of God. Say plural, more than one, communities, more than one. God wants us to establish ourselves in community. That's the universal law. No human being, no single member of society can establish him or herself except in community life. You can't have your career, you can have your great future to yourself. It's impossible. That's not reality. You can only have it in community life. So we have to select a community life that we identify with, and that we love, and that we feel comfortable with and want to invest in. For ourselves, for the benefit of our wives, our mates, for the benefit of our children to come, for generations. And that's what we have to do. So we need our young brothers, Benjamins. We need our young brothers and sisters. We need them. We pioneers. I guess I'm in that group now. Not early on with those, but we had those. So we have to remember them, that we are standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before us. So the pioneers are waiting and they're hoping for the younger ones to catch the spark, to have ignition, to have cognition, and to come to fruition, to become the fruit of Islam. But a caution. But we have to remember, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ, Allah says. And above every possessor of knowledge, there's more knowing. There's more knowledge. So we can't think when we get a little bit of Arabic, when you get a little bit of Sirah, when you get a little bit of Hadith, all the material of social sciences, we can't become arrogant and think that we know more than we know and discount those that came before us, those pioneers. We have to appreciate them. So I'm going to conclude with these little poetic readings here. The Steep Path Home, a poem of mine. The time is short, the road is long. The sun is up and the night is gone. The light is on. The light is on and the light is on. Myth is dispelled. The thinking, traveling at the speed of thought, the thinking is right. All we have to do is follow the light. But work must be done as we go. It's not sufficient to profess what we know. We must establish the life for the soul. We must make our life whole. Do not neglect to do your part. To learn, to build, to work, and share is farad. Farad. Brothers and sisters, Allah is my shaheed, not by faith alone, but by faith and good deeds. We must travel the steep path to get home. And finally, to and for the children of the pioneers. We welcome you into the world, a beautiful boy or girl. Harsh and challenging though it may seem, nevertheless, it is a place for the fulfillment and the pursuit of dreams. Don't give up. Don't despair. Don't whine or cry when it seems unfair. but struggle with every fiber of your being and every atom of your will. Engage the adversary at every valley and hill. Shriek not from injuries or injustices suffered, but go forth into the midst of the foe. Take the fight to that which would hold you back, giving blow after blow after blow. Charge on, charge on, charge OWN, charge on. Our time is running short. Are you prepared to take your shot? Secure your spot. Give it all you got. Finish the race. Pick up the pace. By God's grace, God has made you great. Assalamu alaikum. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Amen. So that is my conclusion. I don't know if the host is coming back in, if I'm just going to leave the broadcast. So, as I prepare to leave the broadcast, I thank Imam Eugene Farouk and the community of Houston now for giving me the opportunity again to share with you some of our experiences, our concerns, and our hopes for the future of the Ummah and for the future of our association. So thank you again and again. Assalamu alaikum.